All right, welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the one, the only Ian Gilmore. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. Casey. Thanks for having me on today.
So, kind of tell everybody what you do.
Everything. But no, I'm a student journalist at Michigan State University. My major is journalism, and I'll have concentration in sports journalism and a minor in broadcast journalism. And so I try to spread myself as wide as I can. I love to do a lot of sports, love to do play-by-play. Soccer is my main sport, so I cover both the MSU women's and men's soccer team, and did that for, what's the last time, at least as a student, this fall. And I also do news stuff. So I produce, news packages with Focal Point at MSU, along with, doing play-by-play for other sports like MSU basketball. I was lucky enough to do play-by-play for the couple games we had on BTN Plus this year for the men's basketball team. And then outside of that, I'm a student too. So, I gotta get the grades. And then also, I like to, I'm a college student, so I love to have fun with my friends and, go out on weekends and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say, I was trying to spread my net as wide as I can, and do as much stuff as I can before I, get out into the real world in a couple months here.
Yeah. So kind of talk about like how you got into this business more sense in the way.
Yeah. So I started in high school. I took a class called Broadcast Communications, and just loved it. And then I took our capstone class at Lake Orion High School, which is called Television Production Workshop. And we had a daily newscast, and I loved doing that. And we also got to do some play-by-play of some of the high school sports. And that's why I really found that, I really loved that stuff. I started doing some video production too, some cinematic and hype videos for the basketball team there, and I really enjoyed that. And so I just kept pursuing that in college at Michigan State. I showed up everywhere at all the clubs and stuff the first week, and really found a home in Spartan Sports Report, Big Ten Student U, that sort of stuff. So I've just kept pursuing that, and in high school, that's what I wanted. That's what I figured out I wanted to do, and college has kept leading me down that same path. So that's what we're trying to do in a couple months here when graduation comes along.
Yeah, for sure. So I know that you've kind of done news stuff, you kind of done sports stuff. I know your passion is soccer. What kind of got you into that?
Well, my dad's Scottish. And so, he just passed that straight on down right from the time I could walk, I was kicking a soccer ball. And I just grew up watching it every Saturday and Sunday morning. I loved it. And then I played it all my life. I still play, like I am. I don't play high level, but I play like I am. I'll play in the summers. And once I played, in high school, but once high school was done, I couldn't play at the high level anymore. So I wanted to, still be involved with it, and play-by-play was that avenue for me. And so that's, been probably like my favorite thing I've done all of college, is doing play-by-play for the soccer teams. And that's the passion, that's the dream, that's the goal. That's where I want to end up. And that's how it's happened. I watched it, I played it, and I've commentated it. So it's just a passion for me. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I know that you've covered Michigan State soccer a lot, and recently was some pretty big news with that program a little bit.
Yeah, Owen Finnerty transferring from Michigan was, one, very out of the blue and surprising, and two, I think really beneficial for both parties. Hunter Morris is moving on. The goalkeeping situation with Michigan State this year was quite rocky. I think Hunter Morris, made some mistakes, and so Damon Rensing wanted to try some other guys in net, and eventually found, I think, a really solid backup, at least in Lance McGrain. But Owen Finnerty started not this past year, but the 2 years before that for Michigan in between the pipes, and he was really good too. And then this year, he kind of gets benched. I can't think of his name, but the really tall freshman that came in and played keeper most of the year for Michigan. But going from Michigan to Michigan State, I've never seen that, at least in the soccer world. So it was really surprising to see. But Owen Finnerty is a top keeper, and I think Michigan State needed that, to be quite honest with you. Not a knock on the guys that are there right now, but I don't think any of them, at least at this moment, obviously they can develop, but at least at this moment, aren't top class keepers. So I think Owen Finnerty can come in and slide right in and be that for them.
Yeah, for sure. So I know that you're on the track to graduate. What's the plan for the rest of the year? I know you're kind of talking about going down to You're gonna go down to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl and all that. Go
Yeah.
through, what is your plan for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I mean that's number one. Going down to the Peach Bowl on the 28th, getting down there, and I think we're gonna try to put some news stories together because there's so much happening one in that city, and then you add a big event like the Peach Bowl to it, so that'll be fun. And then being on the field for the Peach Bowl at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I'm really excited for that. In terms of after the new year, I mean the job applications got to start that. Don't exactly know where I want to end up or where I will end up in 6 months time, but I think one of the things that I want to do is I want to do play-by-play. Like that's the dream, that's the goal, and I don't want to give up on that. I know it's hard to get into right away, but even if I just get my foot in the door somewhere and can turn that into other things, then that's good with me. I'm only taking 3 credits in the spring, so I'm hoping to work on my reel and things like that, and also just enjoy my last semester at college because it's never going to come around again. But don't know where I'll be in 6 months, but hoping that in the next 6 months I'll sort of be able to sort of figure that out.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what do people don't understand about college soccer?
Oh man, I think one of the biggest things is that even though they're like elite athletes, not a lot of them are known, right? There's no household names in college soccer. And then one other thing too is it's sometimes hard to call when you're starting just because there's not a ton of information about them. And sometimes it's hard to like read into what the lineups are like. And, if this guy starts over this guy, what does it really mean? And, all the coaches, not all of them are doing like weekly press conferences. So, you can't always ask them those questions. But the players are putting in just as much work as, the people that are very visible, the basketball teams, the football teams, the women's basketball teams, the volleyball teams. And so I just think, sometimes it doesn't get the respect it deserves, but I always enjoy seeing, full stadiums when, I know Michigan has a great atmosphere every time I go there. There's always 2,000, 2,500 people. The Michigan Ultras are awesome. And then, Maryland has 3,500 people at every game. And then you see the College Cup. The women's stadium was packed. The men's stadium was packed. So there is that, that desire for it, for people to watch it. Like people do want to watch it. It's just not a majority of people right now. I think one thing that'll help it continue to grow is if they do eventually go to the fall and spring season, where they're not playing 3 games a week, where they're just playing 1 game a week. They take a break in the winter and then start it again in the spring. I think that's something that'll really help the growth of college soccer. And I think we're seeing it. They're finally, I think sort of starting, we see the championship games on ESPNU instead of ESPN Plus. So it's on, mainstream television that most people have. So I think it's growing. I don't think it's a rapid pace right now, but I'm excited to keep seeing where it goes. And my eyes will be on it firmly even after I'm out of college.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you have other things and passionate things. What's the biggest thing that you've covered, you think?
Oh, biggest, I think one of the biggest days was when D'Antonio retired. And there was a basketball game that day too. So he held a press conference at the Breslin before the basketball game. Another one that has to be up there was Michigan State this year when Big Noon Kickoff was there. College Game Day was there, and then the game itself lived up to every single expectation and lived up to all the hype, and covering that, being on the field for that was absolutely awesome. It was the best game I've ever covered, I think. And then maybe not a biggest event, but one of my favorites was the Elite 8 game for the men's soccer team my freshman year in 2018, when they hosted James Madison, and there was the fans was throwing snowballs from the field. The game itself was great. It was, to punch a ticket to the Final Four. That was one of my favorite memories, just, from college as a whole. Trying to think of, College Game Day when they came to the Breslin, covered that. I think I'm probably forgetting something too, but those are the pretty big ones that pop into my mind right away, at least.
Yeah. Biggest experience that you've learned throughout all this stuff?
Oh man. I think one thing that I've learned that has been a struggle at times to learn is stay true to yourself, because there's already hundreds of people out there that are established. You're not going to be a second one of them. You have to be the first one of you. And I've struggled with things like my voice being a little higher than a normal broadcaster's, or I get maybe a little more excited than your typical broadcaster is. But I've learned that that's my style, and that's I'm not going to change that just because to fit into some niche of what people like want me to be. Like, no, I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna hope that's enough. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that people come to enjoy that. And the other thing too is you don't get this very much because there's not a ton of eyes on college soccer. But once I started doing those men's basketball games, there's people on Twitter that are hating and stuff. And so I got my first experience with the haters. And so that was, a little bit of a learning experience of not taking that stuff to heart and realizing that they're a very small percentage of the people that are watching the broadcast too. So staying true to yourself and just realizing that you have to be the first one of you and not the second Jim Nantz, the second whoever.
Yeah, for sure. I know that the funniest things is, when you and Shapath were on calls, and obviously Brendan's a good friend of mine. So
Yeah.
it's always fun when you two get together and all that. But yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. And Ian, thank you so much for taking some time.
Yeah, no problem.
Just I know it's been a chill day for you, and enjoy the holidays, and look forward to seeing you on the call once we get back going again in 22.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You have a good holiday season as well, Casey.